hope you're ready to work because today we start the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 3, Karma Yoga. Before we go, oh my, again, I tell you, a little bit of vocabulary. This is a little bit different. Kind of confusing, yes. That's life. That's karma, can be very confusing. You see, if you follow the lines there, karma. Karma is a very interesting concept in Sanskrit because karma is one. We understand karma, Srila Prabhupada presents karma as action and reaction at the same time. It's not the action and later the reaction as two different things that come one after the other. No, it's something that cannot be separated. Basic vocabulary. Then we start the third chapter with its summary. Chapter 3, Karma Yoga. Everyone must engage in some sort of activity in this material world. In this planet, we have to work, you know, everybody must is obligation. But actions can either bind, imprison us to the world or liberate from it. We can, so you see, the attitudes we take, they can imprison us or then can liberate us. Mm. By acting for the pleasure of the Supreme without selfish motives, one can be liberated from the law of karma, action and reaction, and attain transcendental knowledge of the self and the Supreme. This is the basic summary from this lovely, lovely chapter. Here we are. Let's get to work. Yeah. And the work starts, with this guy there, Arjun. Mm, that's how the chapter 3 starts. Arjun said, O Janardan, O Keshava, different names of Krishna. Why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare? If you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work, my intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. I'm confused. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial for me. Whoa! And then Krishna, who listened carefully to Arjun's words, said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Bhagavan Krishna, said, O sinless Arjun, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical, philosophical speculation, and others by devotional service. Let's work with that. Oh, sinless. Less is a suffix. Sinless means without sin, without error. Yes, the guy that commits no error. So Krishna is saying, Arjun, you commit no error. I explain There are two classes of men, and that's why Arjuna is like, because both try to understand the self, the soul. Some go into the philosophical speculation, and others devotional service, work, karma yoga. Not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. It's not by merely, not only abstaining from work. Oh, I don't work. Okay, yes, I don't work because work is imprisonment, the system. It's not just abandon the system that you get into the freedom of reaction. Why? Because abandoning is an action. Not nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. So it's not enough. Krishna is saying, not no, I don't work for the system. Uh-huh. Okay. Everyone, everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. One who restrains the sense of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior. Keyword: sincere. Perform your prescribed duty. Get to work. Get the job done. Perform your prescribed duty. For doing so is better than not working. One, one person cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed, mandatory. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you always remain free from bondage, from prison. You are liberated. That's interesting. There, Krishna is talking about Vishnu. According to the scriptures, Vishnu is the characteristic, the character of the Lord, of God, that maintains the universe. There is something in India, they call it the Trimurti, the three aspects of reality. Later on the Gita, Krishna will explain better, but so to put you in perspective, there is the creator, Brahma, the one that creates the universe. There is the maintainer of the universe, Vishnu, and there is the destroyer or the transformer of the world. That is Shiva. So Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, they elaborate the cosmic evolution. And there, Krishna mentions Vishnu, work for Vishnu. And what is Vishnu? Vishnu is the maintenance of life. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generation of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, "Oh, be thou happy by this yajna, this sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation." The demigods, being pleased by sacrifice, will also please you. And thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. Example: the forests, the trees, they are very important in the production of water that we need. If we reforest, it's one way of interpretation, okay? A practical interpretation from this philosophy. Just one example, but it's practical. So the demigods, being pleased, will please you. Yes, I look after the forest. Then I have the food I need. Organic, free from poison. Wow, yeah? It's hard work, but we cooperate with the birds, with the trees and elements of nature. The demigods also represent that. Prosperity will reign for all. In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajna, sacrifice, will supply all necessities to you. But he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sin because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment barely eat only sin. All living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas. And the Vedas are directly manifest from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternal, situated in acts of sacrifice. My dear Arjun, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice, thus established by the Vedas, certainly leads a life full of sin, living only for the satisfaction of the senses. Such a person lives in vain. But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated. For him, there is no duty. A self realized man or woman, of course, come on, person. A self realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. The summary of ethics one in 3 lines. Wow. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. For by working without attachment, one attains the supreme. On this verse, Krishna gives one example. Kings such as Janaka attain perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work and education. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. O son of Prita, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything. And yet, I am engaged in prescribed duties. He is Krishna. He is the opulent one. He is the divine consciousness. Oh, I have to organize the kitchen. Okay, I organize the kitchen. Oh, I have to clean my house. Okay, I clean my house. Oh, I have to give classes. Okay, let's go for it. Oh, now I have to go to bed. Okay, that's also work. Why? Because you're going to rest, relax, get back your strength. When you wake up, get to work again. I am engaged in prescribed duties. I work, Arjuna, all the time. For if I ever fail to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, or part, certainly all men would follow my path. Beautiful word, carefully performing prescribed duties. Carefully, paying with attention. It's not just work, but with your heart. Okay. Okay. If I did not perform prescribed duties, if I didn't work, all these worlds would be put to ruination, ruin, finish, end. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. Oh, that's a wonderful one. As the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment, for the sake of leading people on the right path. As not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. To work in the spirit of devotion he should engage them in all sorts of activities. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are actually carried out by the three modes of material nature. One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, almighty armed, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work in devotion and work for fruitive results. Very interesting question. Why do we do what we do? Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. Therefore, O Arjun, surrendering all your works unto me, with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow these teachings faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. But those who, out of envy, disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish? There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self realization. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous. Mm. Now, here comes Arjun with a question. Arjun said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjun, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all devouring sinful enemy of this world. As fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, The living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of these lusts. Thus, the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. Never satisfied, you know, lust. The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of these lusts. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. Therefore, O Arjun, best of the Bharats, in the very beginning curb this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self realization. The point is, how can we identify these lusts in us? The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. Thus, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind, and intelligence, almighty armed Arjun, one should steady the mind by the liberate spiritual intelligence, Krishna consciousness, and thus, by spiritual strength, conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. Just as closing again, chapter 3, Karma Yoga, everyone must engage in some sort of activity in this material world. But actions can either bind one to this world or liberate one from it. By acting for the pleasure of the Supreme without selfish motives, one can be liberated from the law of karma, action and reaction, and attain transcendental knowledge of the self and the Supreme. This is the summary of chapter 3, Karma Yoga. And then all chapter 3 was like a work, 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 work. And then I thought, oh my God, let's get the job done. First of all, thank you very much for your attention. Quem está aqui agora, quem está assistindo no YouTube, thank you very much for your attention. Very good. But I think, studying is not sufficient. That's why I thought, like, get the job done. How about engaging more with the Gita? And then I was thinking, meu, como eu posso é, trazer um pouco desse questionamento para quem está aqui com a gente sobre como a gente participar mais do Gita. And then I thought, oh, so how to collaborate with com isso que está acontecendo agora. Tamo aí, how to collaborate. First of all, presence. I would say this is number one. Quem está aqui, de verdade, para mim, vocês já estão colaborando muito. Presence now. And then, como assim then? No dia a dia da gente, manter essa presença. esse pensamento, esse estudo. Oh, eu tô com o Gui, tá? Eu vou dar uma olhadinha. Ah, semana que vem a gente vai pro Chapter 4. Vou dar uma lida no Chapter 4 antes do encontro, que aí eu já fico mais, prepared. You are collaborating. You're collaborating with us, with this movement, through your presence. Find us on social media. We are on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify. Encontra a gente lá, né? Você pode compartilhar com seus amigos, pode falar com o pessoal, and that's spread the word. Tell other people that you think, oh, maybe that person, será que, é uma coisa que está acontecendo. As pessoas vão chegando por isso, porque quem está aqui pode colaborar, vocês também podem colaborar, né, dessa maneira. E eu ainda coloquei financial support, que vários de vocês também estão colaborando assim, financially. Thank you very, very much. Né? É porque, de uma maneira geral, quando a gente fala de collaboration, parece que nesse mundo material o pensamento vai muito assim: quanto é que eu ganho com isso? Ou quanto é que eu gasto com isso? E uma vez que eu gasto com isso, pronto, eu fiz a minha parte, colaborei. E existem outras maneiras de colaborar, and I was thinking about that. Como isso? Presence now, presence every day, go social media, copia, cola, manda pra galera, né? Convida. Eu só estou sendo realmente o intermediário, sabe? Se alguém, eu quero participar também, fala lá com o Cris. Ó, o contato dele. Pode passar o meu contato se vocês têm, pode passar o meu contato para o seu amigo, para sua amiga. E todos bem-vindos, tudo de verdade. Thank you very, very much for your attention. I think that's it.